Let's talk about how to pass the BBC video interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English here with another Pass the Video interview. Today we're going to be talking about BBC, probably I would say the world's most famous broadcasting company. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm from the UK and I've grown up with the BBC all of my life. In this video we're going to talk about 5 fast facts about the BBC which you can use in your answer why do you want to work for the BBC. We're going to give you an overview of their recruitment process as reported by candidates from our research from the past 6 months from publicly available sources. Then we're going to talk about the most common interview questions which candidates have said that they were asked in their interviews from the past 6 months for the BBC. And then finally we do our rapid fire round where we go through some other questions that have been asked and that we thought were quite interesting. As ever, I am going to be reading from the BBC research note that we've put together from publicly available sources from the past 6 months, so you make sure that you're getting up-to-date information. You can get this and everything else that you need to give you the best chance of passing your BBC video interview. Check that out in the BBC Pass the Interview Pack, link in the description below. Let's get started. So here are 5 fast facts about the BBC. The BBC is 100 years old. It was founded in 1922 and was originally known as the British Broadcasting Company. They have over 22,000 employees. The BBC has a set of values that all employees follow. They are help the audience, creativity, trust, respect, accountability, and one BBC. The BBC created the Children in Need charity which helps to make sure every child in the UK is happy, safe and secure. And quite an amazing statistic, over 400 million people access the BBC from around the world every week. So let's talk about the BBC's recruitment process as reported by candidates in the UK over the past 6 months from publicly available sources. The recruitment process takes about 1 to 2 months to complete. After you submit your application, you'll be asked to complete a video interview, which takes around 15 minutes to complete. So we estimate this is about 5 questions. You will then be asked to an assessment centre, which includes a 15-minute presentation on a topic of your choice, and then an in-person interview which lasts around 30 minutes. So we picked out 7 common questions. These are questions that in our research came up more than twice. So these are questions that we saw asked multiple times by different candidates for different roles in different months, and we thought, well, it's pretty likely those questions might get asked again. Question 1, why do you want to work at the BBC? Now, we're estimating you're going to get about 2 minutes to answer this question. So you want to pick out 5 facts about the BBC. You could use our 5 fast facts, so you could go and do your own research online. Try and make these facts as specific as possible, and the way that you know it's specific is that it can't really be said about anybody else. Also, that stops you from giving really general or vague facts like the BBC is really big and famous and well known and I'd get great experience and it's a world-class team. All of these things may be true, but you could probably say that about other companies. And if possible, to stop yourself sounding like a list robot, I would recommend that at least one of these facts you relate to yourself personally. For example, for me, I've grown up watching BBC Children in Need and I have loved the BBC my whole life. I remember when I used to not be able to sleep as a kid, I put on the BBC World Service and it helped me fall asleep. Question 2, why this role? So for the job that you've applied for the BBC, there will be a job description. You can use this job description to answer this question. This question is really a 2-part question. The first part is just explain what you do in the job. Yes, it's as simple as that. So you spend the first 60 seconds or half of your answer just explaining what it is that you would do. The second part of this question is you explain what skills would you need. Maybe hard skills, soft skills. Do you need to code? Do you need to have good writing skills? What are they? And just list out maybe 3 or 4 skills in a minute and give an example where you can demonstrate that you have shown that experience. Question number 3, what is your motivation for applying for this role with the BBC? Now, we found this question to be a little bit more personal and it got asked multiple times, which is why we included it. I think this is a really good example where you could bring in your own story or some way in which the BBC has touched your life. For example, I just told you the story about listening to the BBC World Service before I went to bed. I remember watching BBC News at 10, BBC News at 9, Children in Need, growing up watching kids TV on the BBC, and for me it has always been a source of news that I feel, though it may have sometimes different political leanings, in my opinion, for me, has always been a trustworthy source of information that can be relied upon for the facts. Question number 4, name a time you solved a problem effectively. So this is a competency-based question using the STAR format: situation, task, action, result. If you don't know how to use STAR, what STAR is, or you want to know a great technique for hacking STAR, then make sure you check out our BBC Pass the Interview pack down in the description below, which is going to have tons of sample answers and worksheets to help you do just that. So answering a question like this, really what you want to be thinking about is the actions that you took to solve the problem effectively. I would say, what is the problem? What are the challenges involved? What are the steps that you took? How did you do that systematically to get the result that you needed to achieve? And then what you also want to do is just make sure that you're picking out some key skills, some key things that make you an effective problem solver. If you don't know what that is and you don't want to buy our Pass the Interview pack, then just pop it into Google. Question number 5, tell us about a time you worked as part of a team. Exactly the same thing. When you're trying to draw down your experience and what examples should you use, ideally this should come from work, if not from extracurriculars, societies, volunteering. You can always use your academics, but I would say try and use an example that's as close as possible to work as you are able to give, even if it's a very short work experience or work experience in a service job, which I tend to notice particularly graduates won't talk about, almost as if there's some sort of shame about having a service job. But I know for sure that, you know, in my first couple of job interviews, I shared about my first job working as a burger boy in KFC. Question number 6, what are your strengths and weaknesses? So if you've got 2 minutes to answer this, it's really one strength, one weakness. For the strength, just pick out one of the key skills that have been outlined in the job description and give an example where you can demonstrate that strength. For the weakness, I don't like weaknesses that sound false or sound the same as everybody else. So I work too hard, I struggle to say no, I'm a people pleaser, I'm a workaholic. I think all of those things, though they may be true, are answers that I often hear people give. I've also seen lots of different YouTube videos about that, and I can say, having listened to a lot of interviews and a lot of answers, it just sounds like cobblers, to be frankly honest with you. I like examples that have a dose of realism. Also, it's going to be more interesting for you to give an answer that you feel is true to yourself, rather than just trying to say something that you think that I want to hear. Just a little side note about that. Always try to have an element of truth and being true to yourself in your answers. Otherwise, you just come across as bored, boring and detached. So, for example, you might say, well, I'm a little bit disorganized, so I make sure that I diarize everything, I plan my day the day before, and I batch my tasks. Question number 7. Tell me about a time you had a conflict and what did you do to resolve it? So the BBC, like any workplace, is going to be somewhere where there might be some element of conflict. This doesn't mean having a fight, it just means a difference of opinion, a different way of doing something, a miscommunication. I think the really important thing about resolving conflict is, number 1, to listen to the other person, not to shame them. If possible, to resolve that conflict one-on-one rather than in and amongst a group of people, and to see where you can find common ground, compromise if needed, bring in outside sources of help or opinion. Sometimes what I've found really helpful when I've had conflicts or disagreements with people, whether that be in business or in my personal life, is actually just to say, do you know what, I'm going to get back to you, and then to go and find somebody who is outside of that situation and maybe outside of the emotion of that situation, and just say, hey, this thing has happened to me, what do you think? Just to get an outside perspective. So we've picked out 8 other questions which we're just going to go through in a rapid fire way. So how does our organisation compare to our competitors? Big difference with the BBC is that it's publicly funded, so it's a little bit limited in terms of what it can do. This is definitely one that you can pop into Google, but this does make a significant difference because essentially the taxpayer pays through the TV licence for the BBC. That's kind of what makes it different and unique. What do you aspire to be? Very personal question. I think a great chance to be honest. If you want to be a war reporter, if you want to be a writer, if you want to be a graphic artist designing stuff for the BBC, whatever it is, I think it's great to put that out there and show your passion. What are you interested in? Again, good chance to be honest. You want to relate this to the role. but don't be afraid to talk about things that just make you seem a bit more human and a bit more interesting. Give me an example of a time you managed multiple tasks at once. So look up multitasking skills. I would say maybe 3 or 4 tasks maximum. A really common mistake I see with this question is somebody either picks too many tasks or not enough tasks, like going to work and going to school, and then they don't break it down anymore. What are some things you struggle with? So this is a good thing to kind of be honest. So for me, what do I struggle with? I struggle to be organised sometimes. I struggle to give everybody who loves me my time and attention, and sufficient time and attention. You know, friends, family, staff, that can be a bit of a struggle. Good chance to be honest here in this question. Tell me about a time you showed great leadership skills. Another competency question. For me, great leadership is about having your eyes set on the prize, basically knowing, being the captain of the ship and knowing where it's going. Because sometimes when you ask people to do things, they may not understand why, but it's because you're the one who has the vision about where you want to be in 3 months, 6 months, or a year's time. Working hard, I think, is a really key skill for leadership. Acting with integrity, not being afraid to say that you're sorry or admit that you're wrong, being able to listen to others, being able to delegate. For me personally, being able to delegate and not micromanage is really important, and giving people trust and respect. And trust and respect often comes from allowing people to do their own thing when you believe that they're ready, and the respect of, if they don't do it the way that you wanted to, you bring it back to yourself and you say, well, have I not communicated that properly? That's one of the principles that I took away from Toyota's style of management, where the first time when I ask someone to do something and then they come back and they haven't done what I've asked them to do, I will then re-communicate that and say, was that clear when I first explained it? Often their reaction is no. They say, oh, I didn't realise you wanted it to do like this, or you wanted it to be like here. And I go, oh, that's fine. I apologise, I didn't communicate that clearly enough. I'll make sure to communicate that better next time. It's only kind of the second or third time if it repeats, and I think, well, the problem is not me, and the problem is not my communication, then the problem becomes that person. Why should we hire you? I think this is pretty much like, why do you want to do this job? What would you change about the BBC? This is a great question. I think it's a really personal question. For me personally, one thing that I haven't really enjoyed about the media landscape in the last 20 years, though I like and respect the BBC, I haven't watched the news in many years, because I find it to be a fear factory and really quite depressing. And often the news is only what is communicated, and you need to read around that, because every government and every country has its own agenda and what it wants to do. So I find it easier just to disentangle myself from that. Something that would be good is, you know, maybe more hard-edged commentary or opinion pieces. And also, I don't particularly enjoy the level of political correctness that we have in the media landscape today. I feel like it sucks a lot of the joy out of jokes and fun and laughter, and I'm not talking about at other people's expenses, but one of my favourite TV programmes when I was growing up was Only Fools and Horses, and it makes me sad that a lot of the stuff that I loved as a kid, particularly as a second generation immigrant growing up, now probably couldn't be shown on the BBC because it would be offensive to somebody. And I think by its very nature, you know, everyone's going to be offended about something. That doesn't mean that we need to take that away from everybody. Anyway, that's my little opinion about the BBC, over and done with. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, drop us a comment down below, let us know how we did. Have you got a BBC video interview? Was this video helpful? What other past the interview videos would you like us to do? Please subscribe to the channel, and I wish you the best of luck with your interview. Good luck.